Bold, brazen, and for the most part, untouchable. That's the way that Blackbeard lived his life as perhaps the most feared and formidable pirate who ever existed. However, much of Blackbeard's early life is shrouded in a fog of mystery. It's said that pirates seldom ever wrote about themselves in official documentation, making it hard to identify who they actually were. Usually, this was intentional, as pirates were likely conscious of their deeds one day catching up to them. Often, pirates were known to conceal their true identities in order to prevent the spoiling of their family name. Blackbeard is said to have introduced himself as Edward Teach, but there were no records to prove whether this was his actual name or merely a pseudonym. It's speculated that Blackbeard was born in Bristol, England around 1680. During his teen years, he would leave England and take passage to the Caribbean. It's reported that he served as a privateer in the Queen Anne's War up until its conclusion in 1714. After the war, Teach moved to the Bahamas where he served as a regular crewman. It's here he met Captain Benjamin Hornigold, the man who would set the stage for the terrifying Blackbeard. Privateer turned pirate, Benjamin Hornigold influenced Edward Teach, who was said to adopt the ways of the pirate very quickly. It wasn't long before Teach was promoted and awarded his own small fleet and a vessel for which he would use to sail alongside his mentor. Together, they plundered many ships, including a powerful 300-ton French frigate known as the Concorde. Hornigold would soon accept an offer from Woodes Rogers, the governor of the Bahamas, who would clear his piracy crimes in exchange for a slice of his loot. Hornigold retired, where he settled for a safe life as a planter. Teach, however, was still bloodthirsty for adventure and plunder. With Hornigold out of the picture, Teach took the Concorde and upgraded it with 40 guns. He later renamed the Concorde the Queen Anne's Revenge. Teach was able to grow a mane or facial hair, which was uncommon at the time, giving him a distinct and almost barbaric look. It was noted that Teach did not sail nor enter battle without 3 pistols strewn across his chest. He would also not be seen without a cutlass and a few knives just to be sure. Teach understood that his image was a huge part of his reputation. His beard was said to be often separated into sections and tied with colourful ribbons. Perhaps more terrifyingly though, are the legends that Teach would light his beard on fire and storm enemy ships. Whether his scare tactics were a touch overboard or otherwise exaggerated, it's said that many of Teach's enemies surrendered at the mere sight of him. Blackbeard went on to capture several vessels across the Caribbean, most notably the capture of the HMS Scarborough, a powerful warship which heavily contributed to his reputation. In 1718, however, Blackbeard set sail away from the Caribbean, where he had made a name for himself, and winded up in North Carolina. He founded a new base of operations in the Ocracoke Islands and preyed on passing ships for plunder. It was said that Blackbeard and his crew favoured this location because of its convenience, as it was so close to the markets they could very quickly sell their stolen wares. Blackbeard even went as far as to bribe the local Governor Eden to turn a blind eye to his crimes. In May 1718, Blackbeard staged his most daring plot in Charleston, South Carolina. Many of his crew members were sick and in dire need of medication. Blackbeard and the crew were able to capture several ships, including the well-known vessel known as the Crowley, which contained highly respected citizens on board. Having achieved this, Blackbeard laid siege to the town, blockading the harbour and preventing the passing of any and all ships. He gave an ultimatum to the governor of the town, stating that he would send the heads of the prisoners to him and burn the captured vessels if he didn't receive the medication he had requested. When the response was not heeded, Blackbeard and his crew drew closer to the town, spreading panic amongst the citizens who believed they were about to be attacked. Naturally, the medication was amply supplied and Blackbeard released the prisoners as promised. This was likely to be the pinnacle of Blackbeard's notoriety. Not only was he seemingly untouchable on the waves, but he had accumulated a vast amount of plunder. He had become synonymous with pirating during that era. His theatrics and strategic wit were so widely reported that he was making headlines in the print media outlets of the time. Of course, every rise has a fall, and Blackbeard is no exception. Mere days after his brazen siege on Charleston, the Queen Anne's Revenge was shipwrecked, supposedly sunken as it sailed over shallow waters at Beaufort Inlet. With his crew marooned and his ship ruined, it seemed like Blackbeard was finally at a loss. However, some have said that the sinking of the Queen Anne's Revenge and several other friendly ships was intentional. Some have said that Blackbeard recognised that the golden age of piracy would soon be at its end, and while he knew he was a formidable force, it would not be this way forever. By sinking his own ship, Blackbeard was able to amass a hand-picked crew of the best from his 300 men, and then make off with most of the plunder. With all the loot he had amassed, Blackbeard followed in the footsteps of his mentor Hornigold, and accepted amnesty from Governor Eden in North Carolina. For a sizable chunk of the loot, of course. Here, Blackbeard bought a house, and lived as a stand-up citizen where he married his 14th wife. However, the call to the sea was a strong one, and before long, Ed would teach reach for his cutlass, and Blackbeard was born again. At least, on a covert level. Teach enlisted once more as a privateer, a guise he used to supplement his old ways. It was noted that Blackbeard still operated by plundering ships on the waters, but would report them as derelict or abandoned. He would then share the spoils amongst himself and his crew. But it seemed like Blackbeard had tempted fate one too many times, and fate answered in the form of the governor of Virginia, Alexander Spotswood. Spotswood had become so fed up with pirating activities that he decided to cut off the head of the problem. That head of course belonged to good old Blackbeard. Learning the supposed location of Blackbeard, Spotswood sent 2 vessels, the HMS Pearl and the HMS Lime, both of which were commanded by Lieutenant Robert Maynard. In November 1718, an epic battle on the waters took place when Blackbeard noticed government ships approaching his home at the Ocracoke Islands. Firing his cannons, Blackbeard was reportedly able to wipe out a third of Maynard's resources in seconds. However, Maynard and a few of his ships were able to get within proximity of Blackbeard and his vessels. The pirates would go on to board Maynard's ships expecting to find the crew on the deck, but Maynard was wise to this, and his crew hid in the decks below. This allowed his troops to surprise the pirates and make quick work of them. The legendary battle between Blackbeard and Maynard is reported to have taken place on board in a gruesome melee. Maynard reported that Blackbeard had taken 5 bullets from his soldiers and 20 slashes of a dozen swords before he eventually died. Talk about being hard to kill. Blackbeard was decapitated post-mortem and his body was tossed overboard. His head was hung from Maynard's ship like a trophy and a warning to all other pirates. Upon returning to Virginia, Maynard provided the head of Blackbeard as proof that he had slain the legendary pirate and would go on to claim the £100 reward from the colony. Still, whatever Maynard was paid pales in comparison to the estimated £8.4 million that Blackbeard had amassed in his vibrant career. If I was Lieutenant Robert Maynard, I don't think I could help but feel a little shortchanged. The legend of Blackbeard lives on today, and while the golden age of piracy is most certainly over, its intrigue and excitement has sparked some awesome, if not downright crazy stories. Some of those include the supposed buried treasure that Blackbeard left behind. It's speculated that Blackbeard's secret stash is somewhere in North Carolina, though if this is true, it may not even be worth digging up. Blackbeard mainly stole barrels of sugar and coca, things that would fetch a fair price in the 1700s, but not so much now. Other legends say that once his body was tossed in the water by Maynard, Blackbeard's corpse swam around the ship 3 times. Sounds rather spooky if you ask me. Strange lights were also supposedly spotted in the sky by sailors in the time after Blackbeard's death, and many attributed them to the dead spirit of the legendary pirate himself. If you like this video, please give it a like, and let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions for any future videos. There's more content coming about other famous pirates and legends in history, so consider subscribing to keep in the loop. Until the next time folks.